Basketball is fucking back, baby, and today I'm going to be giving my final 2024 NBA standings predictions, post-free agency, post-injury updates, all that kind of jazz. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. But let's kick things off with the Eastern Conference, my one seed. I'm going with the Milwaukee Bucks, man. I know that they lost Drew Holiday and Javon Carter, which leaves a lot of questions regarding their defensive prowess in the backcourt, I suppose. But with that being said, they added Damian Lillard. They're adding, you would assume, is a healthy Chris Middleton. They still got their fucking core as well. You got Giannis, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton's still there. They signed Malik Beasley for very, very cheap. So I do think that the Bucks are the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. So that's why I've got them in the first seed. Next up, I've got the Boston Celtics. Very, very top heavy. There are some questions regarding their bench and whether or not it's going to be to the level of, a championship caliber team, I suppose. But with that being said, the two biggest takeaways for me for the Celtics offseason is one, Joe Mazzulla is getting a legit coaching staff to work with. They took Charles Lee from the Milwaukee Bucks, brought in Sam Cassell. I think that's two huge W's right there. And the bench, I feel like it's a little unappreciated. I'm not saying they're as stacked as the Lakers, but you got Al Horford coming off the bench now. Peyton Pritchard's been playing very well in the preseason. I know it doesn't mean much, but still, he's also a proven rotation player. He's getting more minutes, fresh off an extension. I do expect him to ball out. You got Sam Hauser, who's a very, very great shooter and can definitely hold his own defensively. And then you got guys like Lamar Stevens, O'Shea Brissett, hustle, energy guys. So I feel like their bench is more unproven rather than shit, I suppose. So I feel like they will prove themselves as pretty worthy. But I feel like, Celtics second seed. The Bucks and the Celtics are just levels above everyone else, in my opinion. With the third seed, I'm going with the New York Knicks. I love what the Knicks have done. They added Dante DiVincenzo on top of Josh Hart. So that's two glue guys, kind of like Swiss Army knife, still a bit of everything type players. And then you still got Jalen Brunson, who's a star, borderline superstar in my opinion. You got Julius Randle, who's a regular season superstar, if you want to put it that way. RJ Barrett, look, he's still young. That's all I got to say. So he's still got a lot of room for improvement. And he's still a 20-point per game scorer with not so great efficiency. Not the best defender, but he's got potential, all right? And then you got a lot of other young pieces as well, right? You got Emmanuel Quickley, Quentin Grimes, and then the bench, you still got Isaiah Hartenstein. So they're a very well-rounded team, and I do think they're going to surpass the Cavs this season. So I got some high expectations for the Knicks. Speaking of the Cavs, they're my fourth seed right now. I'm not a fan of that Strus and Niang signing whatsoever. I've made that very clear throughout the offseason. They invested pretty much $90 million into two defensive liabilities. Look, Strus's contract, $64 million. You could have spent that money in many other ways, and it would have been better because the bottom line is that he doesn't fit very well next to Garland or Mitchell. He's undersized as a small forward. He's like 6'5". He's a defensive liability himself. I mean, for God's sake, he got benched for Duncan Robinson in the playoffs. And offensively, great shooter when he's switched on, but is very, very streaky. So I don't know what the thought process was there. They had Chetty Osman, who was a streaky shooter himself as well, came at a fraction of the price, but I just don't see the Cavs improving that much this season, which is why I still feel like they're a good team, but I put them at the 4th seed for now. Next up, I've got the Miami Heat at the 5th spot. Look, I won't lie, these guys are bloody hard to rank because in the regular season, let's not forget that last season they were a play-in team and they lost in the first play-in game as well. So they were very close from being bounced from the playoffs altogether. Obviously, full credit to them, made the NBA Finals, but yeah, that's just something to point out. But obviously, they made the NBA Finals, and now they're adding a healthy Tyler Hero back into their rotation as well, which is huge. But two things, they lost Gabe Vincent, they lost Max Strus, and they lost Victor Oladipo as well, who was a pretty good regular season contributor. And they added Josh Richardson instead, which is a pretty good pickup in my opinion. Thomas Bryant, solid, I suppose, but they lost out on the Damian Lillard sweepstakes. Jimmy's getting another year older. Lowry's already old as hell. So playoff 7-game series, they're as good as anyone on this list. They could be the number 1 team. Who knows, man? But regular season wise, I don't see them beating the top 4. 6th seed, 76ers. This all comes down to whether James Harden plays for the team or not, right? Joel Embiid, reigning MVP, obviously. You got Tyrese Maxey, who I fully expect to take another leap in his game. Beyond that, rest of the roster looks a bit uninspiring. They got some nice little role players here and there, but it all comes down to if James Harden is going to play or if they move him, what they get back for him. If they get back Terrence Mann, if that even happens in a Norman Powell, that's not moving the needle much. That's all I got to say. Because I think one thing that's being overlooked is that Joel Embiid has played with an elite playmaker every single year in his career. Ben Simmons, James Harden, right? You take James Harden out of the equation, let's say they get Terrence Mann back. Your point guard rotation is going to be Terrence Mann, DeAnthony Melton, Patrick Beverley, and Tyrese Maxey. None of those guys are natural point guards, and I feel like Embiid's efficiency is going to take a hit. So, not to mention all the drama in the locker room. I don't know if there's drama. Maybe it's just between Harden and Daryl Morey, but I just don't see them overtaking any of the top 5 teams. So I've got them in the 6th spot for now. As for my playing teams, starting with the Indiana Pacers, got very high expectations for these guys. Don't be surprised whatsoever if they sneak their way into the top 6. Excellent point guard in Tyrese Halliburton. You know, they added size in the offseason with Obi Toppin, Jarris Walker, and they got a lot of nice, both young pieces and then complementary pieces as well. You know, in terms of young pieces, you got Benedict Mathurin, you got Jordan Nwora, played pretty well, Isaiah Jackson, Aaron Nesmith, Andrew Nembhard, and then the more, you know, proven players. You still got Buddy Hield, you got the added Bruce Brown, you got Miles Turner, and you got one of the best coaches in the league in Rick Carlisle. I expect big things from these guys next season. So, but for now, I've got them just missing out, you know, as a 7 seed, I suppose, but definitely could sneak in. Got the Atlanta Hawks. You know, full offseason with Quinn Snyder's going to help, definitely. But other than that, what did they do? They got rid of John Collins, added like Patty Mills, Wes Matthews. It's just the same roster running it back, essentially. So I don't feel like they're going to improve that much, especially because a lot of other teams in the Eastern Conference, some have gotten stronger, some have stayed relatively the same. Don't see them making much noise. Next up, I've got the Orlando Magic sneaking into the play-in spot. They got a lot of talent. Paolo, Franz, Wendell Carter Jr., Suggs, Fultz, Cole Anthony. Yeah, they're a very, very promising team, and I think they do take the leap into a play-in spot this upcoming season. Don't think they're a top 6 seed just yet. Maybe the season after. Rounding out the play-in team, got the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah, solid team, you know. Mikal Bridges proved himself post-trade deadline. So did Cam Johnson. Nick Claxton's one of the best defensive players in the league that nobody talks about. And beyond that, they got a lot of offensive firepower. You know, Dinwiddie, Lonnie Walker, Cam Thomas, obviously. And you got some solid role players too, such as Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal. So I feel like they're a lock for the play-in spot, but we'll see. And then rounding out the rest of the conference, the shitty teams, I suppose. 2 teams in NBA purgatory, the Bulls and the Raptors. These teams just need to blow it up. Chicago, unless you're getting Lonzo Ball back, I don't care how many good role players you add. You know, shout out Javon Carter, shout out Torrey Craig, but you're not going to make that much noise. Same goes with the Toronto Raptors. They lost Fred VanVleet, replaced him with Dennis Schroeder, added Jalen McDaniels. Was it Jaden? Jalen, the not as good McDaniels brother, and they're just not going to make that much noise, man. And then Detroit Pistons, you know, feel like this is a growing year for them. Next season, watch out for them. But this season, they're still an 11th to 15th spot type team. Maybe they can creep to that 11th seed, but I don't see them making the play-ins just yet. And then rounding it out, we've got Charlotte Hornets and the Washington Wizards. Look, for the Wizards, they're going to be fun to watch. Score 120. They might score 140 on some nights, but they'll give up 150. It is what it is. So that's what I've got for the Eastern Conference. Now moving on to the Western Conference, kicking things off at my 1 seed. I'm going with the Phoenix Suns. Look, do I think they're the best team in the West? Fuck no, man. They might be the 3rd or 4th best team in the West. But in the regular season, with the amount of offensive firepower that they do have, they should be able to win quite a lot of games in a cruisy fashion. Now, with that being said, point guard, center, 2 big question marks for this team. They don't even have a fucking point guard, man. Like, D-Book played well as a point guard, but he's not a natural playmaker. That's just how it is. And as for the center position, I personally would have rather they kept DeAndre Ayton instead of Yusuf Nurkic, but I mean, kudos to them. So I've got them at the 1st seed. 2nd seed, reigning champs, Denver Nuggets. You know, best player in basketball. There's really not much else to say. They lost Bruce Brown, so they're going to be relying on guys like Reggie Jackson, who should improve with, you know, more chemistry with the team. They're expecting guys like Christian Brown and Peyton Watson and Zeke Naji to take leaps as role players, which I fully think they will be able to. And then obviously Justin Holiday as well. So they're kind of stepping in for the losses of Bruce Brown and Jeff Green. But yeah, overall, they lost a bit of depth, but I do think they're going to somewhat cruise through the regular season with the goal of the playoffs and the championship in mind, right? At my 3rd seed, got the Lakers. I've spoken very highly of them despite being a Celtics fan. Most stacked team in the league by far. I feel like AD plays 65 games, DPOY. LeBron, everyone forgets how good he was pre-injury. There's not too much to say about them. They're built to manage LeBron and AD's health throughout the regular season so that they're fresh for the playoffs. Absolutely stacked. But yeah, got them as the 3 seed. And in my opinion, I feel like they're just as good, if not better, than the Nuggets to come out of the West. Might be a hot take, but hey. Next up, got the Minnesota Timberwolves at the 4th spot. Might be a hot take as well, but I truly believe in these guys. They are very, very stacked. They didn't have much time on the court together last season with Cat's injury, with figuring out Cat and Gobert. But now, with an off-season for the 2 big men to work together, Anthony Edwards taking another leap. You strengthened what was already a very, very good bench with Shake Milton and Troy Brown Jr. And then you still got Karl Anthony Towns being healthy, Jaden McDaniels, fresh off a 5-year, $136 million deal. They're looking very good, man. So I'm putting them at the 4th spot. At the 5th spot, going with Golden State. Age is always going to be a concern, but as long as Steph Curry is healthy, these guys, they're as good as anyone, honestly. Like the Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, Looney starting 5 is one of the best in the NBA. Chris Paul, I feel like, is going to honestly take that bench to the next level. But yeah, age and injuries, a bit of a concern there. But I feel like they're a 5th seed. 6th seed, I'm going with the LA Clippers. It's tough to rank, man. Like, honestly, like it all comes down to Kawhi and Paul George's health, as it does every single season. Beyond that, Russell Westbrook signed a 2-year at $7 million deal. Probably one of the best bargains in the NBA right now. Still got plenty of great role players. If Ty Lue just stops playing Marcus Morris Sr. and giving him 25 minutes a game, that'll be sweet. But yeah, it all comes down to Kawhi and PG's health. If they're healthy, which is pretty much not a given, they can be a 2nd or 3rd seed in my opinion. But because you have to take into consideration, historically what they're like, I feel like they're a 6th seed, if not a play-in team as well. But anywhere from 4 to 6, I feel like is a sweet spot for them. As for the play-in spots, I'm going to be honest with you right now. I feel like in the Western Conference, outside of Phoenix, Denver, and LA, the order from like the 4th seed to the fucking 12th seed, you can juggle it around in any order, and you can make a very valid argument for that. So with that said, my play-in team, number 1, the New Orleans Pelicans. 1st seed with Zion Williamson last season. Do you rely on him to play 60, 65 games? I don't know if I do. And beyond that, they had issues with other players getting hurt last season too, such as Brandon Ingram. But yeah, they didn't do too much in the offseason, added like Cody Zeller, and that was it. I feel like their core is good enough to run it back, but the West is just stacked, man, and this is my personal ranking. Next up, I've got the Dallas Mavericks. They're tough, man, because I love what they did in the offseason, but at the same time, bro, their center rotation is Dwight Powell and rookie Derek Lively, and we didn't really see Kyrie and Luka play very well together. I do think that will get better, don't get me wrong, but with that said, added tons of nice role players, Grant Williams, Seth Curry, Raquan Holmes, Derek Jones Jr., Dante Exum, Josh Green's going to be better, Jaden Hardy's going to be better. So they got a very nice team, but yeah, their big man depth leaves a lot to be desired. So I've got them as a playing team. Next up, got the Sacramento Kings. Look, I know they were the 3 seed last year. I just don't see any way they're going to replicate that level of success when a lot of teams in the West got better and they didn't really do much. They kept Harrison Barnes. What did they do? They added Chris Duarte, JaVale McGee, Jalen Noel. They didn't really move the needle much. They added Sasha Vezenkov, I think his name is, EuroLeague MVP. Great signing, but unless Keegan Murray takes a huge sophomore leap, I just don't see them overtaking the teams in front of them. Next up, and in the final playing spot, I've got the OKC Thunder. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, fantastic player, but I feel like people are starting to overrate him a little bit. We'll see how they go this upcoming season. They've got one of the best small ball units, with SGA, Giddey, J-Dub, Dort, and Chet Holmgren, obviously. Very, very good head coach in Mark Dagnall. So we'll see how they go, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they made the top 6, but I feel like they're more likely to be a play-in team rather than like a top 3 or 4 team, which I have seen other basketball creators put them in. So that's that. Next up, onto the 11th to 15th seeding, we've got the Memphis Grizzlies. Look, 2 weeks ago, or even 2 days ago, I wouldn't have put them here. But the truth is, Steven Adams is going to miss the entire season. Brandon Clark's already missing the entire season. So that's your 2 best centers gone. Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to be forced to play as the center. And we all saw how that went with Team USA. He can't rebound for shit. Might be pound for pound one of the worst rebounders in the league, alongside like Luke Cornett. So they're in some trouble, man. And beyond that, their depth is always a bit shaky. Off the bench, I've got Derrick Rose. I love the guy, but like he's probably a 3rd string center at this stage of his career. You got Luke Kennard, very good. And then beyond that, a lot of question marks. Santi Aldama, Zaire Williams. I don't know, bro. Your guess is as good as mine. And then that's the obviously put on top of the fact that Ja Morant's suspended for 25 games. He's going to come back. He might be a little rusty. Who knows? And he wasn't someone that played 70-plus games every single season. He played 67 games as a rookie, and that was the most he's played since. So even when he comes back after missing like a third of the season, you can't just expect him to play all remaining 57 games. So that's that. Next up, got the Houston Rockets. Love what they did in the offseason, even if they overpaid a couple of guys. Ime Udoka is going to be great for the young guys, great for the culture. I think they're going to be relatively competitive, but they're just not good enough in the Western Conference. Next up, I've got the Utah Jazz. Larry Markkinen, stud. Walker Kessler, stud. Beyond that, a lot of question marks. Jordan Clarkson will get you, 20 points a game. And then, Colin Sexton, THT. There's a lot of question marks with the rest of that roster, so I'm just going to put them there at the 13th spot. And then for the final two teams, I've got the Portland Trailblazers. Nice team on paper, Scoot, Simons, Sharp, Grant, DeAndre Ayton. And then you still got Thibault, Rob Williams coming off the bench. Going to be a growing year for them. And I wouldn't be surprised if someone like a Jeremy Grant was moved at the trade deadline, or a Malcolm Brogdon, for example. But they're sneaky good. You know what? I'm going to put them above the Utah Jazz, man, because their roster's a bit more proven. And lastly, coming in at dead last, got the Spurs. Love what they got. Love what they've got going on with their big starting five with Sohan, Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Wemby, and Zach Collins. But yeah, they're just not as good as the rest of the West, bro. Maybe better than Utah. I don't know. But yeah, Wemby's going to get his numbers. Probably not going to be too efficient. Vassell, Keldon Johnson going to be solid, but we'll see if Sohan develops a jump shot. And yeah, but it's going to be a growing year for them. So that summarizes my standings for both the East and Western Conference. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.